I'd like to welcome everybody to this online version of Comlink. Thanks to the help of the city, we have been able to stay in touch, which is very important during this time. And I hope everybody is staying healthy. And as we do in Comlink, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Terry, do you want to lead us in it, please?
I'm sorry, Carl. We can't hear Terry well, so maybe.
Okay, I'll start. Let me start.
Okay, let me go to the slide. Okay, here we go.
Everybody stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna have.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you very much to our Vice President, Carl Benninger, who has opened the meeting. I know we have others from the Comlink board that are trying to connect with us right now, and they will shortly, including our President, Peter Katz, and other board members on the call. So we wanted to welcome everyone to the Comlink virtual meeting. Thank you to those who were able to register to participate. My name is Margarita Macedonio with the city's Neighborhood Initiatives program, and we have our rockstar staff, here with us, my colleagues Scott Kuttner, Narcy Perez, and Alyssa Ventura. And so we just wanted to make this meeting available to residents, of Santa Ana who have an interest in learning a lot about what's going on with Public Works and a couple of other updates. So we first wanted to review some ways to participate in the meeting. We know that several of you have already RSVP'd, and there is a function to raise your hand that you can press if you have a question, following the presentations or updates. There is a questions tab that we wanted to make sure you got familiar with, so that you can type in your question and we'll be able to see your question, and we can have the presenters address your question once we get to that point. The other is, let's say we have somebody who, let's say they don't have access but to view the question or to type in their question. We also wanted to make it available, the option of having them call one of our other staff members, Narcy Perez. So we have this slide here that shows her number in case you are interested in texting a question through the meeting, or calling her if you can't text a question. That's another way to share and to participate. So that's Narcy's number. I also wanted to announce the number. It's 714-589-9563. Once again, Narcy's number, if you are on the landline or on your cell phone and you don't want to type a question or you're not able to, you can text or you can call Narcy at 714-589-9563. We also understand that some of you may have some technical issues just trying to connect or just trying to participate, and we wanted to make our team member Alyssa Ventura available to help and provide any technical support. So on the screen we have her number. It's 714-614-3992. So please call Alyssa if you're having any issues, whether it's the audio, whether it's just viewing it. We just wanted to have that support available since it's the first time that we're going live with this virtual meeting using the GoToWebinar function. Great. Okay, so we are going to move forward with the Comlink meeting. And we have Lisa Solomon. Lisa, do you want to, I just want to make sure we can all hear you. So can you start speaking? And
let me turn on my mic.
okay.
And then I'm going to be pulling up, well, no, you have the slide up there, but I have the slides that I'm going to be talking off of. Can you hear me clearly, everyone?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Solomon. I'm the principal at Madison Elementary School, and I'm also the representative for Santa Ana Unified School District for Comlink. Today, I have been asked to go over some of what's been going on with the school district, how we've approached COVID-19 and the school closures, what's happened during the transitions, what we've been doing to help support our students and our families, as well as what is the plan for reopening schools, and what's going to be happening in summer. And then we're going to give you a little bit of a facilities update. As you know, on March 13th, the decision was made that we would be closing our schools here in Santa Ana for precautionary measures to make sure that we were keeping our students, our families, and our staff safe. As of that date, it kind of went into, I guess you'd say, light speed, and we started making sure that our students were prepared. We had packets that were prepared for them to work at home. They're called enrichment packets. As well as that, in the time that we've been closed, the district has given out about 40,000 Chromebooks to students. We've also ordered hotspots. We already had some hotspots at our schools. It varied between 25 and 50, and the district has purchased an additional 4,400 hotspots that are currently being distributed to the families. On top of that, our district has been providing grab-and-go meals for our students, knowing that a lot of our students are on free and reduced lunch. This was definitely essential, and so our school police and our school nutrition services and facility departments have been working very, very hard to ensure that we can get meals out to our students. And just so you know, as of I think it was a week and a half ago, we've given out over 1 million meals to our students. We have 13 locations where those meals are offered, and you could go to the Santa Ana website, or you can also call the helpline and they'd be able to give you information. We are going to be continuing that over the summer, all the way until July 31st. As of right now, we have it scheduled, and it's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And there's selected sites where we're going to be distributing those lunches. Madison is one of them, so if students need meals, you can always refer them to come to Madison. We've also been providing a lot of family and community resources, making sure a lot of our families stopped working and have limited income. And so we've been making sure that they have connections to locations that provide food for families, provide other supports. Our FACE workers have been working hard in providing presentations on all the resources that are available, everything from rental assistance through the city of Santa Ana to pandemic EBT cards for getting food for children for the home. Also, we've been making sure that they are well connected to mental health resources. When you go to our website, and that's why I put that on the slide, was all the information for our website. And if you follow us on Facebook, we've been sharing information out like crazy to everyone. We even have a mental health helpline because we know this has been a stressful time for people. And we've been able to provide access to like legal resources, making those connections for parents. And our FACE workers have made themselves available to answer questions and help support our families as well. As you know, all of our meetings then had to go virtual, just like we're doing tonight. I don't think I've ever sat in so many Zoom meetings in my life. And we've also had provided professional development for teachers for how to set up Google Classrooms, the different resources that are out there for making teaching interactive and engaging. Even our arts programs, we work with community partners like Segerstrom Performing Arts Center to provide arts programs for our students. Lots have been going on. If you followed us, our schools on social media, we've been posting videos. We've been trying to make sure that our parents are connected and well informed. And as you know, we've also had virtual graduations, which are recorded and are online, so you will be able to see them. The other thing that we've been doing is we've started what's called an innovation design team. And this team is going to be developing a plan for how we're going to reopen our schools. We have to look at safety and ensure that our students, our staff, and our families, as well as any community members, are safe, that we're being thoughtful about those decisions. And the plan that we're designing is going to be presented to the board on June 9th. And I am part of that team. We're going to be following safety, health, and hygiene guidelines very strictly, looking at what CDE is offering, looking at what CDC is offering, as well as what Orange County Healthcare Agency and the directions like for Orange County Department of Ed. We've sent out a survey to the parents, and we've also sent out a survey to staff to see what they would like to see, what kinds of programs. We want to make sure we're getting input from everybody before we decide. And we want to provide different instructional options. Right now, we're looking at everything that's available. And we're also setting up a plan for professional development. And that doesn't just mean teachers. It also means training our classified staff, training custodians, and even providing training for parents and students so they know what it's going to be like when they come back and that they're well prepared. We are going to be having summer programs. They're going to be virtual. They're all going to be done much like this through Zoom and Google Meet. And we're going to continue the Grab and Go Meals program. And we're going to continue the supports and resources. FACE workers, which is family and community engagement, community workers, will be available to continue to help our families. I have to tell you, I feel that our mental health support has also been tremendous. We have social workers that have been connecting with families and counselors that have needed extra support in the home. And the last thing is we have been working on all our facilities. They've already started with the modernization of Garfield. We've had to make some changes in schools. They've moved to another location while it's being remodernized. And if you want to, you can go to the district website, and there's a little online flip book that shows you everything that we've been doing, all the essential facilities projects that we've been working on. So it's kind of a bond update for everyone. And I know Carl knows about that because he's worked on our bond oversight committee. And this, it's just to give you guys information on what's happening at our sites. So we continue to work on that. And then one bit of exciting news, we got a new public information officer, and his name is Fermin Leal. You probably know him. He worked for the Orange County Register and reported on Santa Ana, so he knows our community, and we're very excited about having him with us. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, Lisa, would you mention the name of the young lady who got to address the entire nation? Santa Ana High?
Oh, yeah. I have to tell you a funny story. It's Priscilla Arceo she went to Henninger Elementary School. Bill Skelly posted it everywhere. And she got to speak to the whole nation on TV for Graduate Together 2020. It was a special broadcast, and she got selected to speak, and it was absolutely beautiful. As you know, she's one of Salty Najero's speech and debate students. She's participated in this program, and every time I hear her speak, she makes me want to cry. And if you haven't seen it, you can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube and see Graduate Together, and you'll be able to see the amazing work, the way that she spoke about her family growing up and how we still need to celebrate our graduates and their accomplishments. And all that they've done, even though they don't get a normal graduation. It was truly an honor to have a student who was selected from Santa Ana Unified to speak to the entire nation. So we're very proud of her. She goes to Santa Ana High School. As you know, Jeff Bishop wore that proudly, and he shared it with all of us, told us that it was happening, and we were so excited everyone was watching. But a beautiful, beautiful speaker. A student here from Santa Ana, and she spoke right before President Obama, which I thought was absolutely amazing.
Super.
Any other questions?
Not seeing any.
Okay.
Lisa, thank you for your time. One thing I didn't do was announce our board, and I don't know if we have Peter online yet. Peter, our president. Peter Katz, are you
Yeah, I'm here, but I don't have a picture.
okay?
Yeah, a webcam request was sent to him.
Okay, then let's announce Terry McCall. Leon, you want to say hello, Leon Jacob?
Hello, Carl. Hello, Carl.
Irvin Macia.
I'm here, everyone. Happy to be here.
And George
Okay.
Collins,
Okay, just a second.
pause there for a minute, she'll be back. And then Evangeline Goronsky, I don't know if Evangeline's online or not. Okay, I'm going to go ahead then and move into my section, which of course, this time of year, we are all concerned about fireworks and what's happening. And so to update you, the Santa Ana fireworks show has been canceled this year, so there will not be a fireworks display on July 4th as in past years. We also have found out that they are going to have sale of Safe and Sane fireworks. And the details are being worked out, but basically you'll be able to buy those on July 1st and run through 9 p.m. July 4th. And of course, those are manned by a lot of charity groups that they raise money for their various activities that way. So those will still be on. There is a hotline to report illegal fireworks, and that hotline is 714-245-8771.
Yeah. No, and you can't see any living people.
If you want to report any illegal use of fireworks, that is the number to end up using. With that, I do hope everyone has a very safe and sane July 4th. Marguerite?
Yes, thank you, Carl, so much for your updates. We know that many residents have been calling and asking about, what's going on with fireworks, and so we appreciate that update, Carl. And Peter Katz, President, is on. Hi, Peter.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so we're going to continue with the updates before our main presentation. So we have Melanie McCann from the city's planning division. Melanie, can you speak so we can just check if you're, we can hear you?
Here I am. I'm right here.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So I'm going to switch to your material, Melanie. So go ahead, Melanie. Thank you.
Very good. My name is Melanie McCann. I'm with the city's planning division, and I'm happy to be here to give a quick update on our general plan and in specific environmental justice in the city's general plan update. So the slide you have, for those of you that can visualize the slide, there is a map, and in the city of Santa Ana, there's what we call environmental justice communities or areas of disadvantage, and those are defined by a state law. It's called Senate Bill 1000, and Senate Bill 1000 actually it created the requirement for cities to look closer at environmental justice in their general plan updates, and that is what we are doing. So some of you received an email recently, and others received flyers, informational flyers, and in there we try and walk through what environmental justice is and identify the communities that are considered impacted. And the goal of the legislation is to make sure cities are giving special focus on those areas and looking for ways to improve those areas. And so one thing I just wanted to clarify for those that are listening is, what is environmental justice? And so just real briefly, throughout our communities, throughout the state, the nation, some bear a disproportionate burden of pollution and associated health risks for a number of reasons. And environmental justice, that term, EJ, its intention is to seek to correct the situation and create more equity and reduce pollution and encourage public investment and different programs to help those areas that are more impacted by pollution. And so, Margaret, if we can go to the next slide quickly. And what's on the slide now is what was also on the informational flyer. And by the way, the informational flyer was specifically mailed to the 32,000 residents and property owners in those disadvantaged areas, as well as folks that have asked to be kept abreast of activities with the general plan. But the visual that's on the screen now, it basically shows the path of the general plan effort. Started back in 2015, 2016, public outreach. And the part I would like to draw attention to is June, which is right around the corner. We'll be putting together a presentation available to view online to provide more information about environmental justice, and also to give some examples of the goals and policies and programs that are being proposed to be put in the general plan for City Council to affirm and adopt, that would further the work that a lot of our neighborhoods and communities have already started, and that is to make a more quality environment, reduce environmental risk, and create more equity. So that will be in June, and then in July we will actually be trying to work through virtual outreach as the draft elements and the general plan are released for public viewing. And so that's another thing to look forward to. And the goal is to adopt the general plan by the end of the year, including environmental justice policies and programs throughout all the different topics of the general plan. So again, I'd encourage to, for those that don't see the screen, to search for Santa Ana General Plan Update, and it'll take you right into a section on environmental justice, a section on all sorts of different information and upcoming meetings as a resource for you. So if there's any questions, be happy to try and answer those.
So I first wanted to check with Narcy of our team if you have received a phone call, Narcy, or a text message of any questions so far. Okay, so Narcy just responded that she has not received any questions. For those attendees who are on the call, I just wanted to, and thank you, Narcy, for responding on the questions tab that you've not received any calls or text messages. But if there are any of the attendees who are on the call, you can type in your question. If it was for Lisa Solomon from our giving the education update, or from our colleague Melanie McCann giving an update on environmental justice in the general plan. We'll leave the slide open right now to view the information for any other comments and questions regarding the general plan and environmental justice. So at this point, we're trying to connect with Nabil Saba, our main presenter. So we're going to try to get his webcam on.
While we're doing that, there we go. I'm just going to announce
okay, great.
To go to a council meeting online on the first and third Tuesdays of each month. And so on June 2nd will be the next council meeting that you can view online.
Okay.
There you go.
I see Nabil now.
Okay, great. So now we're going to, let's see, Nabil, I'm going to make you a presenter now so you can share with us your presentation. So we'll do that right now. And I think you have the ability to share your screen now, Nabil. You want to try that?
I am looking for it.
And we just wanted to thank everyone, especially attendees on the line, for being patient with us. It's the first time we're trying this GoToWebinar feature. And so far it's going smooth, but we've had a lot of learning to do in the last couple of, in the last week actually, as we finalized our subscription. Okay, how are we doing, Nabil?
I don't see the share option.
Margarita, you're showing me as Nabil. I don't know if you accidentally sent
okay,
it.
let me change that. Yeah, let me change that.
There
There's two Nabil Sabas.
are.
Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, Nabil. So
Okay,
go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
What happened to audio?
Hmm?
Go ahead, Nabil.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can
Yes.
see your screen.
Maybe introduce yourself. Hello.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. And my name is Nabil Saba. I am the Executive Director of Public Works Agency for the City of Santa Ana. Tonight, we have a few topics for you based on your request and the community's request. We are going to talk about small cells. We'll be talking about the project, the Public Works Agency, the things that we do. We'll touch on the water rates, and we also will touch on our proposed refuse rate adjustment. And again, we're going to go back to the presentation on the small cell antenna. Before I go into my presentation, I would like to introduce Jack Chula from our Information Technology Agency. He's the Executive Director of that agency. He's going to talk to us about wireless cellular information. So with that, I will pass it on to Jack.
Yeah, Bill, can you advance the slides?
You see it?
Nope.
You can't see the slide?
All
We
see is
can.
the-
He's asking you to advance the slide, Nabil, so with your mouse, that way Jack can proceed.
It's just showing communication linkage for him.
For the arrow key on the laptop.
I am. I'm talking through it.
It may not work with the arrow. It might be with the mouse if you're using the mouse.
There we
Okay,
go.
there we go. Wow, Jack.
So everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Jack Chula. I'm the Director of the Information Technology Department at the City of Santa Ana. I've been here for a little bit over 4 years. Prior to being with Santa Ana, I was with the City of Long Beach as their applications manager for 9 years. And prior to that, I was with the LA County Office of Education, supporting the LA County school districts. And in a prior life to all that, I was in management consulting with KPMG Consulting. So I've been in IT since the early 90s. Okay, on Nabil. So since Nabil's going to be talking later about small cell towers as they're starting to propagate around the city, I wanted to give a quick introduction of the wireless cellular industry and a little bit of its history and why things are moving the way they are. So cell phones have been around since about the late 1970s. And about every 10 years, they've done sort of a major shift in the technology, which they refer to as generations. And that's the G that you hear in 3G, 5G, 4G. So the first generation, the 1G, was strictly analog. Back then, there was no data. It was just voice. That was the late 70s when that came out. In the early 90s, they transitioned to 2G, where it went from analog to digital, and also added data services. So the demands were pretty light back then. Not everybody had cell phones, and the data they were doing, sending on it was mostly texts and very small. 3G added multimedia support and worldwide roaming and increased speeds. and people started to get fast enough speeds to actually start accessing internet and to get more data. And then 4G came out in about 2011, and it switched to internet protocol and got much higher speeds, and people were able to get graphics and video and see full websites and much higher speeds. And that's where we are right now. Right now we're at the 5G, 4G, and we're transitioning into the 5G, which is the new generation. It was released in 2019. It's still rolling out slowly. It'll probably be several years before everything completely transitions over. And 4G utilizes smaller geographical cells and higher, shorter range frequencies in order to get faster speeds. They're expecting it to be 10 to 100 times faster than our current speeds. And so it'll really help out. Now, why we're all doing this is strictly, or why we're doing it, why the industry is doing it, the telecom carriers, is because of the demand. The wireless demand has really grown exponentially, and it has been growing for the last 3 decades very quickly. Not only has there been more devices out there to connect to, you've got more people with cell phones, more people, there's Wi-Fi devices, MiFi devices, there's all kinds of devices connecting with cellular, laptops, tablets. So the demand has dramatically gone up. But not only that, the amount of data being transmitted is also gone up quite a bit. So estimates are that about 95% of Americans own a cell phone and 77% own a smartphone. And the smartphone users are using a lot of data. They're connecting the internet, playing games, watching videos. Mobile video is estimated to be 77% of all cellular data traffic. And a video uses a lot more data than a text or a simple phone call. So the demand on these cellular networks is tremendous. And the growth of the data is estimated to be 25 to 30% per year, which means in less than 10 years, they have to increase the data bandwidth by 10 times. And that's a pretty daunting task, and that's why they're doing this. So what are small cells? Small cells are flexible targeted network solutions. They're basically smaller antennas, smaller, less powerful antennas that use a higher frequency range, and they can be used to augment the network. So you can see from the images here on the slide, they're much lower to the ground than a traditional macro cell tower. The macro cell towers were typically about 80 feet high, very powerful, and they extended to a wide range, going up to 1.5 to 3 miles. These smaller cells are 20 to 40 feet down closer to the ground, and they only have a range from 500 to 1,500 feet. So they cover a smaller area. So why the small cells? The small cells are a way that the networks, telecom carriers could increase their capacity to meet the current demand. It offloads some of the data demands from the larger macro sites. So in this image, you could see the larger circle is the area covered through a macro site, and the smaller little circles are targeted areas where they've had increased demand for data, and they put up a smaller cell to help offload some of that load from the macro tower. So the two work in conjunction. And the goal of it for the telecom carriers is, one, to help meet the current 4G needs, and then two, to prepare for 5G, where they're going to need to have a lot of these cells to handle the faster data at the higher frequencies. Next slide. So finally, there's a lot of debate about whether the small cells are safe. And I'm not gonna opine on that. The city is not the regulatory agency. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, is the entity that determines the safety of these. And their studies show that that they're safe, and so as a city, we're required to allow them to happen. The telecom companies for their 4G and 5G cell site towers are required to adhere to the FCC guidelines. And I provided on the slide here some links to information that the FCC has on their website regarding the radio frequency safety and human exposure to the radio frequencies. So there's additional information there to be had if you want to find out more information about the safety of small cells. And that is my presentation. I'll turn it back over to Nabil.
Can you hear me? Oh, this is Nabil again. Thanks for being here. Just a little bit about myself. I have been with the city of Santa Ana for 20 years now. I started as the associate engineer with the city of Santa Ana Water Department, and then I progressed through that department to become the water resources manager about 6 years ago, and just recently I've been promoted to the Public Works Agency to become the executive director of the agency. I am honored to serve the city for the last 20 years. I am very passionate about the city and the community, and I just love the city and care quite a bit about its looks and its shape, and will be working really hard to make a difference here at the city. My education, I went to school at the Cal Poly Pomona University with a Bachelor in Chemical Engineering. Then I also went to Loyola Marymount University for a Master's in Civil Engineering. I am a professional engineer certified or registered with the city of with the state of California. That I am, again, I'm a father of 4, Rebecca, Dina, Mark, and Joseph, and married to Mervet, my lovely wife. And Mark is in high school. Joseph is at UCLA being a pre-med, and Dina is first year medical school, and Rebecca is a computer analyst with an insurance company. That's me. I'm happy again to be here. And again, we have a quite a bit of a program for you in our presentation. And the content really of the presentation is based on your request on wanting to know more about some of the topics that Public Works is dealing with right now. The first one was a parking analysis. I would like to provide you an update on that. As you may know, the city did a pilot, a parking study on the northeast portion of the city just recently, and the recommendation was by council to conduct a citywide parking study. And this budget year, we asked for, requested $400,000 to engage a consultant to conduct the study for us, but because of COVID-19 and the reduced revenues that are anticipated, we were given $200,000 to conduct the study. Regardless, we will, July 1st, we would start working on an RFP to send out to retain a consultant to do that study for us. Once the study is complete, we will provide you with the results and the recommendations. I would like to also talk a little bit about the projects that we are undertaking right now in the Public Works Agency. We have many projects. This is just a listing of some of them. The OC streetcar, as you all know, is in progress. The project right now is in the utility relocation phase. So you see a lot of trenches in the streets, and that's because we need to remove or relocate water, sewer, and storm drain facilities away from the alignment of the streetcar. So that's underway. Once that's finished, the OCTA will be in the process, or will be installing the rails themselves and so forth. So that's the big phase. So we're also working on bike lanes, roundabouts, and bulb outs on Civic Center Drive from Main Street to Garfield. We are also working on a traffic signal upgrade at Euclid and Hazard Avenue. We also have street work projects on Raitt, Bishop, Flower Street, and in Henninger Park and Madison Park neighborhoods. We also have few water and sewer improvements. On the sewer, we have the San Lorenzo lift station that's under construction right now. In addition to that, we have undertaken a median landscape transformation program that has started at Harbor Boulevard, Fairview, Bristol 17, and First Street, and MacArthur will be next. So you may see some of that project in progress right now, and we're hoping to finish that in the end of June. We also have a project that we're dealing with the city of Costa Mesa on the Delhi Channel diversion. Another question that came from you was, what does Public Works do? And we do, in addition to all of that, the construction project and the capital improvement projects, we also deal with homeless services. This last year, we cleaned up 2,700 encampments in 2019. We also maintain street or median landscape maintenance. We maintain about 30 miles of medians. In addition, we have a graffiti removal services or program. Last year in 2019, we removed 172,000 graffiti spots in the city. We also have environmental sanitation, which is a program where we deal with weeds, illegal signs, and illegal dumping. We also have.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Nabil. This is Margarita from Neighborhood Initiatives. I know that I think before we continue with your presentation, there were several questions that had to do with the antennas, and so we wanted to get to that first, if it was possible, just so that. And we did get a question for environmental justice, so we're working with Melanie to get a response.
It's whatever you like. Do you want to address those questions?
Yeah. No? Nabil's going to be covering more on the cellulars, the antennas, so we might want to save all the questions for the end, Margarita.
Okay, so let's see. I wanted to turn it over to Scott. Scott, can you unmute yourself? Scott Kuttner.
Yes.
Okay, so I think because a lot of the presentations regarding the small cell antennas were covered, I think we just wanted to see if some of those responses could be addressed, because there was like other public works related that don't have to do with the antennas. So Scott, did you want to call attention to some of the questions or the feedback that we're getting?
I think at this point, we just wanted to reassure people who are sending questions that we're receiving them and that we'll be able to respond to them as part of the meeting. So for instance, a question came in about the cell towers. Are they being installed in neighborhoods? Another question came in, how safe are these small cells in the community? Why do you install them so far away from residential homes? Things like that. And so I just want to reassure people who've been asking questions that we will get to the questions, and Nabil Saba and Jack Shula will be able to answer your questions, but it'll be at the conclusion of their presentation.
Okay.
So,
all right. Thank you, Scott. Yeah.
Want to encourage people to continue sending questions. We're receiving them. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Continue, Nabil.
Okay. So we are at environmental sanitation, I believe, and that is our weed abatement, illegal signage, and illegal dumping program. We also have a roadway cleaning program where we sweep the streets and the sidewalks. We have 50,000 miles of sweeping to do every year. Roadway maintenance, this is where we fix potholes. This last year, for example, we fixed 2,200 potholes. Roadway marking and signs, we also try to maintain the marking and the striping in the roads. Last year, we did 1.5 million feet of striping. We also have, of course, the street tree services. We have 50,000 trees in the city. We trim and prune 17,000 of these every year. And next year, in next 3 years, we plan to plant 500 trees. So in the next 3 years. I want to touch a little bit on the water rate adjustment. There was some questions about that. The city completed water and sewer master plans, which identified significant needs of infrastructure repairs and rehabilitation. The water enterprise projects will average nearly 15 million in annual capital spending for the next 20 years. That's the need. The sewer enterprise projects and the needs for that is about 6 million annually for the next 20 years. So right now we have underway $5 million worth of water projects and $14 million in sewer projects. The overall increase in the combined typical bill of a single family residential customer will be little less than $5 per month. This table shows what a single family home with a 5/8 meter would expect in their uses. If they are a low water user, 5 units of water a month, that's 500 cubic feet of water a month. The expected increase would be about $8.61. If the individual here is a typical user that uses 10.5 cubic feet, 100 cubic feet of water a month, the expected increase would be $3. For a high user, which uses about 25 units of water or 100 cubic feet of water, the expected use would be $27.12. Now, where does the money go? The money collected from the rates go to debt service, 2% of it. 11% goes to system improvements. 15% goes to administration. 31% goes into the operation and maintenance. And a lot of it, 41%, goes for purchasing the water from our retail, from our wholesalers, and to pay for the pumping cost, the electricity. Now, I'm going to shift gears and talk about a proposed refuse rate adjustment. This is the solid waste or the trash collection for single family homes. The state of California mandated a change to the city's green waste processing, Assembly Bill 1594. To comply with the mandate, the city negotiated with Waste Management to have a third-party compost the city's green waste. The composting cost will increase the monthly refuse cart rate over 2 years. Effective July 1, 2020, that increase will be $1.90 per month. On July 1, 2021, the increase will be $1.50 per month. The city welcomes your participation and your input. And there is a website here that you can go in. We are having a public hearing this coming council meeting, June 2nd, on this rate adjustment for the solid waste. Now I'm going to shift gears again and go to the small cell antennas. Like Jack introduced us to the small cell and the need for it, and I'm going to touch again on some of the highlights. what the small cell antennas is about. Small cell antennas are regulated by the FCC. The FCC is an independent U.S. government agency that overseen by the Congress. It is responsible for the implementation and enforcing Americans' communications law and regulations. The city of Santa Ana is required to comply with the FCC. What is the enforcement? There is the Telecommunication Act of 1996. Santa Ana has a telecommunication facilities and public right-of-way ordinance. And there is also a Federal Communication Order 18-133 that regulates the small cell. Why is it important? Small cell become in demand right now, and because of, like Jack mentioned, increased in data capacity, and 5G technology is coming. And the city of Santa Ana has recently purchased street lights, and now those street lights have become available to the small cell providers to be able to put their antennas on the street lights. We do have in City of Santa Ana design standards and guidelines. For example, this picture here shows what is encouraged. On the left is a street light where we are encouraging the providers to install their antenna on top of the street lights. It looks nice. On the right is another option for the small cell providers to install their antennas. They have two options: to go on top or to go on the pole itself through like a cross arm or a brace, and a side arm. So those are the two options, or one of the two options that are available, and we do regulate those through our design standards. Our design standards avoid these situations. As you see, utility boxes like this will not be allowed. So many different installations on a pole like that will not be allowed, and so forth. So that's why we do have our own city standard and guidelines for the installations. Now, there are 4 options available to the small cell providers to install their antennas on utility poles, street lights, the carrier-owned standalone pole, or strand-mounted, and we'll talk about each. Just before we go to the wooden power pole, this is a depiction of what a typical Southern California Edison power pole looks like. Note the primary level, which is all the way on the top. Then you have the secondary level, which is the lower voltage. And then you have the communication level, and then the public level. Communication equipment and antennas are allowed in the communication level, which is about 18 feet or higher, typically. Option 1 is for the provider to install their antennas on a utility pole. Southern California Edison has its own requirements. Wireless providers and Southern California Edison have an agreement, and they are members of the Southern California Joint Pole Committee. Once you are in that committee, you'll be allowed to use power poles to install antennas on. Those installations are regulated by the California General Order, which is issued by the PUC, so the Public Utilities Commission, and also regulated by Southern California Edison, which regulates clearances, marking, design, support elements, climbing space, stepping, cables, and cable mounts. Now, like I mentioned, Santa Ana also have our own standards. We require that the equipments are concealed. We allow for top mount. We also allow for side and cross mount antennas. We limit the volume per antenna to 3 cubic feet, and we limit a maximum of 9 cubic feet of antenna per pole. We also require that the equipment is 8 feet or higher and painted to match the pole. We require that the shroud face away from the approaching traffic. We require that the maximum cross arm length to be 60 inches. We also require that the maximum antenna height be no more than 48 inches. The maximum position height in residential zone is 35 feet, and the maximum in other areas is 60 feet. The maximum horizontal distance between different antennas is 300 feet. So we look for those standards and we do enforce them. The second option is for this is a sample of what a utility pole looks like. And those pictures are from in Santa Ana. And the second option is for the antennas to be installed on the street lights. Those are examples, and we have standards also for those. And we encourage those type of installation in Santa Ana. As you can see, they're simple. They match the other poles, and we kind of like them. This is an example on the right-hand side is an example of a 5G antenna. And you can see that pole boxes are buried underground, and it looks like a light pole. The third option is for the carrier or the provider to build their own standalone pole, which would look like this. Now, this is an option. We don't like this option because it may crowd the sidewalk for us in the city. So it's not preferable for the city, but the carriers have that option is to build their own. The fourth option is to mount the antenna on a strand like you see here. Looks like a briefcase that's hanging on the line. We've seen some of those. There's some of them in Santa Ana. Now I want to talk about the application process. When a cellular provider comes to us in the city, the provider submits the application and pays a fee. The city acknowledges the application status within 10 days. That's an FCC shot clock. We are under basically a time clock to acknowledge their applications. If the application is complete, the city and the provider proceeds with planning. In the same time, the providers sends notifications to the residents within 150-foot radius, along with notifications to the neighborhood association leadership. So we notify those residents that are within 150-foot radius, along with the neighborhood association. Then the city and the provider respond to the resident and the community comments, and staff works with the applicant to determine whether other locations and or designs are technologically feasible. If feasible, the provider makes changes and resubmit the plans. If it's all good, then the city and the provider proceed with the permit issuance and construction. That concludes my presentations, and I'm open for questions. Hello?
Thank you, Nabil. This is Margarita Macedonia. And so we have actually a number of questions related to the cell towers. So maybe we can start with those since we have you and Jack Shula, who's listed as Nabil Saba, but it's Jack Shula. I was trying to edit, Jack, your name, and I don't know if you would be able to edit it, but it was not letting me. Anyway. Yeah. There are several questions. So we'll start with the small cell antennas. So Angie was asking, how safe are these small cell antennas if installed in our community? Why do you install them far away from residential homes? I received a letter. It might have been, why don't you install them far away from residential homes? I received a letter informing me that an antenna will be installed near my house. And so we had also Ed Marash Ed also asked, are they being installed in the neighborhoods? Another related question regarding the small cell antennas received further. My question is, why don't you consider installing these antennas far away from our residential community? So Angie was just clarifying that. So Nabil, would you be able to address several of those questions first? And Jack
Sure.
also.
Yeah, I'll just say first, and then Nabil could add to it. Right now, it's completely up to the telecom carriers where they feel they need to add to their network. So as they monitor and measure their network, they look for where they have gaps, weaknesses, or maybe inability to handle data in certain areas. And those are the areas that they're at least initially targeting to put the small cells. I imagine as the demand continues to grow and grow in all areas, that we'll eventually see these not only just on the main thoroughfares, but also into the neighborhoods. And in order to get 5G to individual neighborhood homes, they're going to need to start to go into the neighborhoods. But since there's going to be a couple-year transition now to get completely to 5G, they're probably initially targeting where their networks need the most support. So Nabil, is there more you can add to that?
No, Santa Ana is heavily residential, and providers are looking for places to put their antennas on, and there is a demand on number of antennas because of the signal strength. So there will be more and more residential and in commercial areas. So that's all.
So I think there was another point that Angie wanted to share about, please, just to reiterate, please keep them away from our homes. How would you feel if your children played under these type of cell towers? So again, that speaks more to the question about safety, exposure, to the types of antennas. And I know we're not like the health, agency that's regulating that, but can you speak to that portion of the question?
Like I said earlier, the regulations really that Santa Ana has is towards the aesthetics of the antenna itself. The FCC has taken away and the responsibility of the health effects of these antennas. So we are regulating these installations based on aesthetics and functionality in the neighborhood and also in the street, and make sure that they do not obstruct a pedestrian traffic and things of that nature. We cannot regulate that, and we are not in a position to talk about health effects of these antennas.
Okay, we have one more question related to the small cell antennas by one of the Comlink board members, wanting to know, like 4G, 5G, what are the long-term effects? And will the city allow the Chinese 5G or only American made? That was another follow-up question. So I don't know if you have a response for those.
Again, the frequencies and all the technology is licensed by the FCC, and those frequencies are controlled by the FCC, whether it's American or Chinese. I can't speak to that.
Okay, thank you, Nabil. So we're going to move on from the small cell questions. Now there's some more budget questions. So wanting some clarification, Alan was asking if you said the budget for the consultant went from $100,000 to $200,000. So I think that was the reference that you made, Nabil.
Yes.
Does that sound familiar?
Our initial ask for a citywide parking study was $400,000. And so because of budget issues, we were only allowed or given $200,000 or allocated that much. So we will try to retain a consultant for that amount, or of course, lower. It's competitive bidding anyway. And so we'll see what we get in terms of what the scope will be and the qualification of the consultant. And with those, we will select the best consultant and then we'll conduct the study. $200,000 is a budgetary estimate, and that's how we work in the beginning. We just ask for the money and then we negotiate pricing.
Okay, thank you, Nabil. And we will continue with the questions. Let's see. Let me continue further down. Oh, this is from one of the other Comlink board members, Evangeline. If you have anything more regarding the update you have for residents in Santa Ana dealing with parking problems in the neighborhood, the Comlink board had a panel back in the fall where they had different city departments participate, including from traffic engineering, and just any other conclusions from the parking study, addressing parking problems in the neighborhoods. I know you did touch a little bit about that in your earlier presentation, Nabil.
I will have to go back and review what was done and what was the study about and get back to you on that one.
Okay, great. And then for Stephen, your question on environmental justice, we're still working on that. So even if we don't address it today, we will make sure that Melanie provides a response so we can get back to you. But we do appreciate the question, and it was regarding how our gas stations rated as affecting environmental justice quality, environmental quality. Then we had, let's see, we have Les asking a couple of questions. One is, what is happening with the South Main Street improvements? And when will construction start on the apartments at Flower and Sunflower? So Nabil, I don't know if you have that information.
I know that the South Main is scheduled for late 2020 to start. And we can provide you with an update soon on that. An update on that to our management, and I will share that with Comlink.
Okay, great.
As far as the apartment or the development, I don't have.
Yeah, you know what? For Les on that one, we can circle back with the planners on that one just to get a status of that major development project. Sure. Thank you, Les, for that question. We have another question on the parking from a Comlink board member. If bike paths will keep on taking priority over parking. George, did you want to clarify that? I'm not following. Go ahead, George.
If you're hearing me okay, I'll continue.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. As an example, we were looking at Greenville here, where it goes from 2 lanes to 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and we wanted to take 2 of the lanes and put parking in, and we were told that the bike paths would take priority, and we wouldn't be able to take 2 of the lanes for 1,000 feet and make them into parking for the apartment buildings, which is badly needed. And I've seen that in several parts of the city where they're taking the bike lane having a priority versus being able to put in curbside parking in the higher density areas. So I'm seeing it as bike paths or bike lanes taking priority over residential parking needs.
I'll have to get back to you on that priority. I know the city participates in the active transportation, and we are geared toward pedestrians and the pedestrian safety and bicycle. So we'll have to, if you have a location, I will study the location that you gave me and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think William Galvez was working with the residents out there in that part of town. So thank you, Nabil. We have a hand raised. So we have a hand raised function for attendees who have a question and who are calling. So I have a Richard Collins. I'm going to unmute you so that you can ask your question. Or if you can unmute yourself, Richard. Okay, go ahead, Richard.
Hi, this is Richard and Nancy Collins, and we are the co-presidents of the Jack Fisher Park Association over here near Floral Park. And our question is about the street remediation on Flower north of 17th Street from 17th to Memory Lane. About 3 or 4 of the intersections have been remediated for sewer stuff from what we were able to figure out this week. But the rest of Flower is really, really in bad shape. And I know that there's issues about the fact that it's cement and that kind of thing, but there are several large holes in Flower. I'm talking, 5-6 inches deep and probably maybe 8 or 10 inches across. Is there any plan at all to help remediate part of those on Flower Street? Because it's getting really bad. It's dangerous, and they're just getting worse and worse and worse.
Now, we'll have to take a look at that. There is no funding for Flower Street right now. We were able to do Flower and 19th Street this time around. So we'll keep those locations in mind for the next phase. But right now, that is the scope of the work on Flower Street.
What's the, this is Rick Collins. What is the timing for the next phase?
It all depends on funding, and right now we don't have any funding.
So the answer is our streets are in really bad shape and we don't have any money, so too bad?
We continue to look for opportunities to get grants and such, and if there's a project that or an opportunity for grant applications, we will pursue those. But at this time, we don't have the funding for that.
Okay, so if it's a safety issue though, because you've got, potential safety issues, can those at least be remediated?
We'll take a look at those sections. I'll have to drive it and see. I'll have staff drive it and take a look at those locations.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
The thing is,
thank you to the Collins. Thank you to the Collins family. I'm going to unmute you, and we have another hand raised from Angie, and then I'm going to go back to the questions. We have Erica, who has a couple of questions. So Angie, I see you, and I'm going to unmute you so you can speak. Go ahead. Or you can unmute yourself, Angie. Okay, we'll get back to Angie. So let's I think she might have asked a question earlier too. Yeah. Okay, Angie. Okay, let's continue with Erica, and then we'll go back to Angie. Oh wait, okay, Angie. So I see you now. I'm gonna unmute you so you can ask your question. Okay, go ahead, Angie. Yes, go ahead.
I'm Angie, and I live here on Shelton Street between Warner and
I'm sorry, on which street, Angie?
Shelton Street. And
okay, Shelton.
Of where that cell tower will be installed. And as a mother of 4 children and being raised in this street, I'm concerned because the tower is literally right in front of my neighbor's house by his driveway. I live in a community where a lot of people, don't speak up if they don't feel that something is right. There's been concerns about that tower. And we do live 2 blocks down a Memorial Park. And we were wondering if that tower can be reconsidered and perhaps be installed by Memorial Park, where there's more towers around the park rather than here at our streets. We do understand that as our population increases and the use of cell phones do also increase, there's going to be towers in our communities. But I just don't feel it's safe for us to be exposed to a 5G antenna. And if you do reconsider, I'm sure you guys have personnel who study the locations of such antennas, And if you see a park that's 2 blocks away from our homes, why not install them at the parks first? And maybe in the future, if the city does not have any other places for these installations, perhaps bring them into our neighborhoods. And that was my question and my concern.
Okay, thank you, Angie. So yeah, Nabil, the question is the
Why not,
consideration of relocating it.
Yes, the relocation instead of homes, bring them to the parks.
So the selection of location of the is really based on the provider's coverage needs. But in this situation, we can sit down with the provider and see if there is an alternative site that we can speak to them about. Could you give me the location or the cross street one more time so we can find them?
So it's on Shelton and
Warner.
Shelton and Warner. Thank you.
Okay. We will discuss that location with the provider, and we'll see if there is options to move it around. But again, like I mentioned, the location is really not selected by the city. It's selected by the provider and their needs for coverage.
Thank you, Nabil, for checking on that. And Angie, one of our the board members of Comlink, George Collins, he's interested in having a follow-up conversation with you. So his email is George, George, at santa-ana.tv. So he specifically is interested in, speaking with you on the tower issue.
Can I just say something real quick? I can give you the exact location.
Sure.
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Angie.
The address, the letter states that it's 2122 South Shelton Street, Santa Ana.
Okay. Thank you, Angie, for that information.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your participation. We're going to go back to the questions. We actually had an earlier question from Brenda. Are there any beautification projects for Rate Street? By the way, the graffiti removal program is doing an amazing job. They respond within a couple of hours. Nabil, anything on the...
Yes, Rate Street is being reconstructed in, I want to say, 3 different phases. Right now, there is a phase that is being worked on from 5th to 1st. And then the next phase will be from Santa Ana Boulevard to Civic Center, I believe. And then the 3rd phase will be from 1st to McFadden. So that is the paving and the street improvements on Rate. In terms of beautification, we will look at that. I'm hoping that after we do those improvements, it will be a much better street than it is right now. But we realize that, and we are working on Rate Street. It's been long in the waiting for Rate, but we are just started the construction on it, and hopefully we will continue in the next 2 phases.
Okay. And then Brenda had just a follow-up. If there are any traffic regulation plans for Rate Street, there have been a few fatalities this year due to racing cars. Is it possible to add speed bumps or adjust the traffic lights? So I guess some studies that could be applied based on the recent incidents of fatalities that have taken place this year. And then Yolanda added on Edinger Street and Rate. So it's probably connected to Brenda's response or her question.
We can study that and evaluate the situation there. But again, Rate is a major street for Santa Ana. So we'll study the location.
Okay, so you'll study the Rate Street location for those factors. Great. We also have, let's see. So this is from Stephanie. My neighborhood has had serious parking problems. We unsuccessfully tried to get permit parking on our street, the requirements for permit parking are a huge hurdle. In certain situations like ours, there should be some recourse for special assistance to help with our situation. So it's probably regarding the residential permit parking, right, Nabil?
Right. We are revisiting our rules for permit parking, and in the next year or so, we may change some of the target to make it a little easier for some of the blocks to qualify. But there is voting that needs to take place, and we are bound by the municipal code on how to establish the blocks or the parking permit blocks and districts.
Okay. All right. So, so Stephanie, yeah, that is being evaluated, and it's been discussed even at neighborhood meetings about the approval that the property owners need to give for residential permit parking to pass. Thank you, Stephanie, for that question. So I want to move down to, let's see, let's work down to Erica's questions. So this is on, there are two questions. The first one is, will existing businesses and or residents on South Main Street be affected by the addition of bike lanes and medians? If so, how will they be impacted, and what remedies will the city be providing for homeowners, tenants, and business owners? So we're talking about the South Main improvements. The follow-up question to that, which is related to South Main improvements, will the city be working or collaborating with any community organizations or grassroots groups regarding the development on South Main Street to ensure community input and concerns are addressed prior to the start of construction?
We will continue to reach out to the community on South Main. We just had, I want to say, a few months ago, a huge meeting on South Main, and we'll continue our outreach before we start construction. But I don't think we're losing, I'll have to double check, but I don't think we're losing lanes on South Main for bikes or otherwise.
Okay. Great. So I think we have, were you going to add something else, Nabil? I don't know if I cut you off. I'm sorry if I did.
No, that's all.
Okay. All right. So we're looking through all the questions, and I think they all have been asked. So we really appreciate everyone's participation in getting your question out there. Yes, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I'd just like to add a couple things. Number one, we've reviewed some of the proposed work on Main Street already in ETAC. And I tell you, what's being proposed is going to beautify that area as well as make it a lot safer. It's just not for bike lanes. It's actually to improve pedestrian crosswalks, make it much more visible, and to move traffic through that area. So as this gets further, I'm sure they'll have meetings with the neighborhood associations. And I know Nabil's been very good about getting out to them. So if you'd like him to come to your neighborhood, all you have to do is put a request in. I like to kind of add too, it was kind of glossed over, but doing the work on the medians right now is a major accomplishment. Danelle McLaughlin, myself, and the rest of the members of ETAC have been working very hard for the last 2 to 3 years to get the city to put money into the mediums and to plant trees. We have not planted trees in the city for a long time. And so to get money dedicated to the mediums, to start working on them, and to get the commitment of 500 trees planted next year was 2 major accomplishments. And I want to thank Nabil for his efforts, and also our city manager, Christine Ridge, who's been doing a super job since taking over the city. And this is one of the fine areas that she has shined in, is to finally listen to us and to help get these improvements made.
Thank you, Carl. Okay, so I'm looking at, there's another question for Nabil from Evangeline, one of the board members from Comlink. Oh no, no, that was already asked, I'm sorry. we're just looking, I'm glancing one last time on the questions. And again, we really appreciate the responses. So we just had a couple of responses from Erica. What community groups are you working with prior so we ensure residents are not displaced? So I think this question is in response to the future development on South Main, and we know that the planning division has been working with the general plan and the land use element and taking a look at the South Main corridor. So Erica, we can circle back with the planners to also get back to you on that. And then Erica also said that was the first and only meeting you held. Oh, the South Main improvements meeting that she was inquiring about before. So it had been a while. It had been probably over a year, because I recall 2 years ago is when we had the South Main corridor general plan discussion, and that was like probably a year and a half before this recent one, Nabil, that your team and other departments from the city had. So thank you, Erica. We're definitely noting that concern, and I'm just glancing one last time for other questions, and I think we've covered all of it. So Comlink board members, did you want to, I just wanted to see if each of you had any closing comments before we start wrapping up with this meeting. George?
Yes, to the lady that's asking about the cell towers. I'm quite a bit into radio myself, so I understand it a little bit. Always ask about the cumulative effect. If you have a cell tower outside your apartment bedroom window and you sleep with that cell tower for 10 years, what's the cumulative effect? Those are the answers you're looking for that will help you get repositioning. That would be it.
Yeah, and we've also shared, Alyssa has shared your address with her on the questions page, so she has it. Thank you, Angie, and thank you, George. Peter Katz, do you have any closing? Oh, okay, his sound is not working. All right. How about Terry McCall? Hold on, I think I have you muted, Terry, I apologize. How about you, Irma Macias? Irma Macias? You can unmute yourself, Irma. How about you, Leon? Do you have Leon Jacobs? You have to unmute yourself, Irma and Leon, if you want to be able to speak, because I've already unmuted you.
Can you hear me now? Right now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Leon.
I hate to say this, but I can't see the difference between trimming and pruning of the trees in this city. With the impression that you want a nice effect in the area of a canopy effect, but do you want lighting for the area, or do you want vandalism for the area? Which one is it? Because I got problems with vandalism with the lights and the trees. You know what I mean? It's for Mr. Nabil.
So this is for public works. So Nabil, the question has to do with, I guess, the way the city does trimming and pruning, of the trees in the neighborhood. It sounds like Leon has, dealt with some issues in terms of, wanting it to be further trimmed, and because the tree might be affecting the street light, the visibility and the concern about the perception of safety, something like that.
Exactly.
Just to let you know, on staff, we have 3 certified arborists in the city here, and we do contract with a tree trimming a vendor that is very knowledgeable about trees and tree trimming. However, if you have a location with a concern, let me know and we'll revisit that tree and that light, and we can address it specifically.
909 South Diamond and 925 South Diamond.
So it's the 900 block of South Diamond Street, Nabil, and that's just before McFadden Avenue, more or less. Thank you, Leon. Okay, I wanted to circle back with Irma Macias.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Irma.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, thank you to Nabil and everyone involved with this presentation. I think it was something that we, as members, were looking for, because in some of the questions, it addressed some of the questions that our neighborhoods are more focusing into, it, which is parking and the antennas. So as I'm looking forward for those antennas to be reviewed, I try to understand the reasons as to why the vendor or the company that are placing these antennas are in the need. But I like to understand a little bit more if there's another way, like Miss Angie addressed the parks. I don't have any parks around my area, but it's the ones that I have received notice for are within apartments very close to homes. And if they have of the 4 options that they presented, I like the number 2. I think it's very high up there, not good enough for the community. And for parking, I think it's a must to address, especially because in some of the neighborhoods, especially the central part of the city, are I want to say not focused or neglected by the city in addressing these concerns. And it is what we get most of the questions from neighbors, from residents. There are living, and because we have a lot of apartments, the apartments the parking for their tenants, so they go into the neighborhoods, and I think it is part of the problem that are creating a ripple effect all around our city. But in the meantime, I want to thank everyone, and if hopefully next time we'll meet at our community link community room, which I'm looking forward. But in the meantime, I think it was a very nice presentation. Have a great night, everyone.
Okay, we're not done yet with the call. We have one more question that came up from Alan. So Nabil, this one is if Alan wants to know if you can speak a little bit more about the loss of revenue, you know, with the COVID-19 and City Hall being closed, and how that will be affecting your department's budget, or how has it affected your agency?
You know, I would like to defer that question to the council meeting on the 2nd. Our finance director will be giving a briefing to council on the budget. She's best qualified to explain the impact of COVID-19 and other things on the city budget. As far as public works, we are, you know, the budget for us is affected by the gas tax and also grant availability for street maintenance. And we do occasionally, actually a lot, rely on the general fund for a lot of our programs. So if the general fund is affected by COVID-19 and the loss of revenue due to sales tax and other things, then we are going to be affected. So it's a domino effect, but I would like to defer that question to the council meeting on the 2nd. I know Catherine Dowd will be presenting the budget. She has a budget presentation that she will be going through, and that's best.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Alan, that will answer the more detailed, I think, breakdown that you're also interested in. And I'm sure that once the council meeting notification goes out, probably tomorrow, it may include like a staff report or something to reference that has that breakdown.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Alan. let's see, I wanted to turn it back to Mr. Katz, the
Rita?
Comlink president. Peter, is that you talking?
Yes.
Okay, go
I
ahead,
have
Peter.
I have a question for Nabil. I've talked to several owners of water stores, and with the COVID-19 run on bottled water at the grocery stores, we need to get that message out that we have the best tasting water in the country and that people can drink the city water and that the COVID-19 is not spread through the drinking water.
We will do our best.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, so Carl, did you have anything else? Any other closing remarks so we can close the meeting? Oh, hold on. Let me unmute you. Sorry. Or try to unmute yourself. Because I've already unmuted you. So, oh, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, well, first, I just want to repeat, thank everybody for listening. Encourage everyone to look to council on June 2nd. It is a very important meeting because the recall has been successful. So we'll see a new council member, and also they're going to talk about the budget. And Catherine's down made a great presentation last meeting, talking about anticipated shortages and where they will be. And they're already looking ahead to find out how we can fill these spots. But it's going to be a very interesting meeting from that standpoint to see how the COVID-19 is going to affect the city on it. But again, I want to thank everybody for joining with this. I want to thank the city because, as you mentioned earlier, we've had a number of practice meetings this week so that we can pull this off. And I'd like to thank the board who attended all those meetings and also the city that helped people that put this together for us. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. And I just wanted to close and thank our neighborhood initiatives team, and thank you to our public works team, and our IT team, Jack and Nabil and your team, because we all made it happen. I think there were some concerns about some of the Zoom meetings and people really not being just really not wanting to participate. And so we tried this other option, and it sounds like we got feedback on the sound, on the visuals. We can hear each other. So we're going to try to get better at this, but we really appreciate everyone's patience. And we will have a poll that we're going to launch right now. And we apologize for not launching it sooner, but we're just interested in seeing how you were connected to this meeting. So here goes. Can everyone see the poll?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So if you can respond, attendees, if you can respond how you have connected to this meeting tonight. And I'll be closing out the poll probably in less than a minute.
And Margarita, can we mention when our next meeting will be, next Comlink meeting?
Yes, Carl. As we're doing that, if you can mark your calendars for the next Comlink virtual general meeting scheduled for Thursday, June 25th. So it's a month from today. And we're going to start at 7 p.m. again. We will be using the GoToWebinar function. And I just wanted to thank everyone for signing up because we just got our subscription live 2 days ago. So typically we would provide you with the instructions much earlier. And so we will now that, we've used this. So yeah, thank you everyone. So for those who aren't able to respond directly to the poll, you are responding in the questions section. So I see, Brenda, your response on your laptop, which is great. So we'll give it about 15 more seconds for people to respond, and then we all will look at the outcome. So 10, 9, no. So we'll be closing it soon. Okay, Comlink board members, I hope that you also stick around to view the results. So here we go. We closed it. And let me know if you see the results. Not yet? Okay, let me look at...
You're still sharing the bill screen.
Okay, here we go.
I see it.
Okay, so it shows that the attendees who responded, 50% connected to this meeting on their desktop or laptop computer, and 50% on their smartphone, cell phone, or tablet device. So yeah, we had about 60% vote. And these are attendees. It's not us as staff, on the call. These are like the folks who connected, actually, who are here listening and asking questions. So, all right. Thanks for the reminder, Jack. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. We will be connected again on June 25th for the next ComLink virtual general meeting. Good night, and please stay safe. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.